Natalie Parker never imagined her life would unravel on a sun-drenched Tuesday afternoon. The school pickup had become routine for her. Seat warmers on low, the same podcast humming through the speakers, a familiar turn past the intersection where the bakery always smelled like cinnamon. But that day, as she idled at a red light near Andrew's office, her world cracked. Across the street, her husband stood in the golden light, smiling. The kind of smile he used to give her when they were just dating. And then it happened. A woman, tall, brunette, confident, walked right up to him. She kissed him. He kissed her back. Natalie didn't blink. She didn't cry. She just stared, as if the scene were part of a dream she wasn't supposed to be watching. The light turned green. Horns honked. But she couldn't move. Not for a full minute. Not until the car behind her revved loudly enough to snap her out of her trance. That night, Natalie tucked their daughter Lucy into bed and helped Ben with his math homework. She loaded the dishwasher, folded the laundry, lit a candle. The image of the kiss replayed endlessly, and still, not a tear. When Andrew walked through the door just before 9, loosening his tie like nothing had changed, she met him in the kitchen. "Did you have a good day?" he asked, voice breezy. "I saw you," she said. 3 words, quiet but sharp. He paused. "What do you mean?" She didn't need to elaborate. The silence filled the room like thick smoke. He sighed, rubbing his temple. "Natalie, I didn't want you to find out this way. Is she your colleague?" He nodded. "How long?" 6 months, he admitted. The truth hit harder than the image itself. She turned away. He reached for her arm, but she stepped back. "Please don't." He looked defeated. "It doesn't change how I feel about you, about the kids. It's complicated." "Then simplify it," she said, voice calm. "Tell me the truth." He hesitated. "She's pregnant." Natalie's breath caught, but she held steady. The moment fractured something deep inside her, but still, no tears. That night, they slept in separate rooms. She lay awake listening to the soft whir of the ceiling fan, staring at the shadows it cast like ghosts on her wall. Her marriage was no longer real, just a memory she hadn't filed away yet. In the morning, Andrew was gone before the kids woke up. No note, no explanation, just empty space at the breakfast table. Natalie poured cereal, packed lunches, and brushed Lucy's hair into pigtails. She smiled. She showed up. Because that's what mothers do, even when the storm has only just begun. For weeks, Naomi functioned on autopilot. Morning coffee, breakfast for the kids, emails, court documents, grocery lists, bedtime stories. She moved through her days like a ghost, haunting the remnants of her once perfect life. There were moments she'd catch her reflection in the window, tired eyes, half-brushed hair, a sweatshirt stained with peanut butter from Zach's lunch, and she'd barely recognize the woman staring back at her. But beneath the silence, something was shifting. A slow burn. A quiet resolve. The betrayal from Alan hadn't destroyed her. It had stripped away everything false, everything fragile. And now, for the first time in a long time, Naomi wasn't moving for anyone else's rhythm. She was listening to her own. It was a rainy Thursday when the knock came. Naomi had just settled down with a cup of chamomile tea, curled up on the couch as the kids played in the next room. She opened the door to find her best friend, Lena, holding a stack of folders and wearing that familiar, "I'm about to change your life" smirk. "I found a lawyer," Lena announced. "And not just any lawyer. Her name's Ruth Myers. Divorce, custody, assets, you name it. She's a beast." Naomi blinked. "I'm not ready for—" "You don't have to be," Lena interrupted. "But she's ready. She reviewed your case already. Says you've got more leverage than you think." For the first time in weeks, Naomi felt something stir. It wasn't hope, not yet. But it was a beginning. Ruth Myers was in her late 50s, wore sharp suits, and spoke in clipped, confident tones. She didn't sugarcoat anything, and Naomi found herself grateful for it. "You've been married 12 years, Ruth said, flipping through pages. "Joint property, 2 kids. You've sacrificed career progression to raise them while he climbed the ladder. The court will consider that. He's made a mistake bringing his mistress into this." Naomi winced at the word. "She's not just his mistress," Naomi muttered. "She's 26, a junior analyst on his team. I used to invite her over for Thanksgiving." Ruth didn't flinch. Even better for us. They built a strategy, custody, full physical custody for Naomi, with scheduled visitation, assets. Naomi would request a buyout on the house or sell and split. She'd also seek compensation for lost income during child-rearing years, alimony, reasonable support, especially if she transitioned to full-time work, leverage. Naomi had pictures, texts, and even a birthday card from the mistress with the line, "Thanks for keeping him so happy at home so he can shine at work." Ruth tapped the folder. This is a narrative, one of sacrifice, trust, and betrayal. And you're not the victim, Naomi. You're the one rebuilding. The hardest part was talking to her children. Zach, barely 4, didn't understand. He thought Daddy was on a work trip, but Emma, at 7, was already connecting the dots. One night, Naomi found her crying under the covers, clutching her favorite stuffed elephant. "Is Daddy not coming home because of me?" Naomi's heart cracked open. "No, sweetheart, this is not your fault. Grown-ups make mistakes, and sometimes they don't fix them fast enough." Emma sniffled. "But he should fix it." Naomi nodded. "He should. But we're going to be okay. You and me and Zach. We're still a family." That night, after the kids were asleep, Naomi stared at the ceiling and let herself cry for the first time in days. Not because of Alan, but because of what her daughter had lost. Innocence, stability, a version of childhood Naomi had fought so hard to give. 2 weeks later, Naomi and Alan stood on opposite sides of the courtroom. She wore navy blue, Ruth's suggestion, professional, calm, strong. He looked tired, unsure. Clara wasn't with him. When the judge asked if mediation had been attempted, Ruth answered calmly, "My client was willing. Mr. Martin declined." Alan shot Naomi a look, one that might have once held affection, but now only carried regret. Ruth leaned in and whispered, "Watch for this moment. The first time they realize they've lost control." Naomi didn't look away. The judge granted temporary full custody to Naomi until the next hearing. Alan would get supervised visitation every other weekend until further review. Outside the courthouse, Ruth smiled. "It's a small step, but it sets the tone." Naomi nodded, breathing in the cold winter air. For the first time in months, it didn't feel suffocating. Naomi began rebuilding her life piece by piece. She picked up more freelance translation clients, specializing in bilingual legal documents, thanks to Ruth's connections. She let Emma choose new curtains for their bedrooms and turned cleaning days into dance parties. She started running again. Just 2 miles every morning, it became her therapy. She also joined a local divorce support group. At first it felt awkward, but hearing other women's stories, some heartbreaking, some hilariously petty, made her feel less alone. There, she met Rachel, a vibrant, witty mom of 3 whose husband had left her for his chiropractor. They bonded instantly. "You know what our lives are now?" Rachel said one evening over wine. "Proof that women can break and rebuild." Naomi clinked her glass. "And look damn good doing it." One Thursday morning, Naomi received an unexpected call from Clara. Naomi nearly dropped her phone. I wanted to talk," Clara said hesitantly. "I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need you to know Alan lied to both of us." Naomi stayed silent. "I didn't know he was still sleeping in your bed when we started dating. He told me your marriage was over, that you were just roommates raising kids." Naomi's hand trembled. Clara continued. "He told me you were okay with it, that you were seeing someone too. It wasn't until I saw the baby monitor footage at your house, your daughter crying for her daddy, that I realized I'd been manipulated." Naomi exhaled slowly. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I'm pregnant," Clara whispered, "and he's ghosting me." That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. The betrayal had taken new form. It wasn't just about love anymore. It was about patterns. A man who tore through lives with a charming smile and a coward's heart. She called Ruth the next morning. "I want to request a formal witness." "Who?" Naomi's voice was steady. "Clara." It had been exactly 10 days since Naomi's unexpected phone call with Clara. 10 days since she learned that the very woman who once shattered her life was now standing in the same storm Naomi had survived. 10 days since she decided to do something bold, something powerful. Naomi didn't want revenge. She wanted clarity. She wanted truth laid bare, not for drama, not to humiliate Alan, but to finally close the door with dignity. When she told Ruth her plan, the lawyer gave her a long look. "You do realize," Ruth said carefully, "that this could shift the tone of the entire custody hearing?" "I know," Naomi replied, "but if the truth is going to come out, I want the court to hear it from someone who lived it too, not just me." Ruth considered for a moment, then nodded. "All right, let's prepare her." Clara showed up at Ruth's office looking like a shadow of her former self. Gone was the glossy hair, the Instagram smile. She wore oversized clothes and carried a fatigue that went deeper than the body. "I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore," she confessed as she sat across from Naomi. "You probably hate me." Naomi looked at her calmly. "I did," she said, "but now I just see someone who's finally waking up." Clara nodded, eyes glassy. In the days that followed, Ruth coached Clara on how to testify, what to say, what not to say. The goal wasn't to vilify Alan, but to expose a pattern, a behavior that spoke volumes about the kind of father he was trying to present himself as in court. Naomi, meanwhile, focused on her children. Emma had begun asking harder questions. "Why doesn't Daddy live with us anymore? Does he love her more than he loves me?" Naomi would hold her close and answer honestly. "Your dad loves you, but grown-ups make choices that sometimes hurt the people they love. That's not your fault, and it never will be." Zach, too young to articulate his confusion, had started having nightmares. Naomi found him crying in his sleep one night, calling out for his dad. She sat beside him, stroking his hair, her heart aching with quiet devastation. "I'm doing the right thing," she whispered into the dark, "even if it doesn't feel like it right now." The day of the hearing arrived under a blanket of rain. The courthouse halls smelled of damp paper and coffee. Naomi wore a soft gray dress, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back neatly. She wasn't here to impress. She was here to protect. Alan was already seated when Naomi entered. He didn't look at her. Clara, seated quietly beside Ruth, also avoided his gaze. When the judge entered, there was a tense silence in the room. Ruth stood. "Your Honor, we would like to call a witness." Alan blinked. Naomi didn't move. "Clara Jensen," Ruth said. The room shifted. Alan's jaw visibly tightened. Clara stood slowly and walked to the front, her hands shaking slightly as she took the oath. She began softly. "My name is Clara. I met Alan at his firm 2 years ago. I was 25 at the time. He was my supervisor." Her voice trembled, but she kept going. "He told me he and Naomi were separated. He said she knew about us, that she didn't care anymore, that their marriage was over in everything but name." Naomi watched the judge carefully, neutral, focused, listening. "I believed him," Clara continued. "I had no reason not to. I met his kids. I went to their house. I thought I was building something new, but I was just continuing a lie." Clara paused, then added, "And now I'm pregnant." "Alone?" "Because he's already started pulling away from me too." Alan stood up suddenly. "Your Honor, this has nothing to do with the custody of our children." The judge raised a hand. "Sit down, Mr. Martin." Clara's eyes met Naomi's across the room. "I'm not proud of what I did," she said, "but I needed to speak, because if a man can lie this easily to 2 women, if he can build 2 lives and destroy both, then the court should know what kind of father he chooses to be when it's inconvenient." The courtroom was silent. Ruth approached gently. "Clara, would you say Mr. Martin expressed concern about the impact of your relationship on his children?" "No," Clara said without hesitation. "In fact, he used them to cover his tracks. Told me he couldn't come over some weekends because Naomi needed help with the kids. I found out later he was with someone else entirely." There was a pause. Then the judge nodded. "Thank you, Ms. Jensen. You may step down." Alan looked visibly shaken. Outside the courtroom during recess, Naomi found herself alone with Clara near the vending machine. "Thank you," Naomi said quietly. Clara nodded. "I didn't do it for you. I did it for the child inside me. I want to be better than this." Naomi considered, then placed a hand on Clara's arm. "Then start now." When the final ruling came, it was swift and firm. Full physical and legal custody awarded to Naomi. Alan would have supervised visitation, reviewed after 6 months. The judge cited emotional instability, deceptive behavior, and a demonstrated pattern of prioritizing personal gratification over parental responsibility. As Naomi walked out of the courthouse that day, the rain had stopped, the clouds were breaking, light filtered through, warm and golden. She exhaled, not just relief, not victory, something deeper, freedom. Later that evening, as the kids played with building blocks on the floor, Naomi sat on the couch, sipping tea. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Clara. "Thank you for letting me speak. I hope one day our kids can meet and know that their mothers did better." Naomi stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she typed back, "One day, when they're ready, and when we